The Stormaforged Accord. Quick introduction of the main characters. Alaric, a raven with a silver-feathered crest, known for his quick wit and uncanny ability to sense the wind's secrets. He roams the high cliffs of the Iron Range, keeping watch over the valley below. Mira, a young apprentice blacksmith, stubborn and fiercely proud of her craft. She can hammer a blade as cleanly as a song, but her stubbornness often blinds her to others' ideas. Liara, a wandering herbalist whose pockets are filled with dried flowers and roots. She believes that nature's wisdom is the key to solving any problem, and she travels the kingdom gathering herbs for both medicine and magic. The Stormaforged Accord. The wind howled like a beast that had lost its teeth, and the sky above the Iron Range had turned a bruised indigo. The first rays of dawn were no longer bright, they were swallowed by a dark, swirling storm. For days, Alaric had been perched on the tallest cliff, his sharp eyes searching the horizon for any sign of the approaching storm that would soon threaten the village below. His feathers were ruffled, and his wing-bits were frantic. Mira was busy at her forge, hammering a new sword that would one day be wielded by the king's men. The sound of her hammer striking the anvil echoed through the valley, reverberating against the cliffs. She had always believed that a blade's worth was measured by the strength of its maker, and she did not allow the wind to dampen her spirit. "Why do you keep shouting at the sky?" she muttered to herself, not seeing anyone. Liara, who had been in the village, had come to gather nightshade for a potion, but she was drawn by the scent of iron and the crackle of the forge. She paused, her ears picking up the rhythm of Mira's hammer. "Forging a sword in a storm," she called out, a friendly grin tugging at her lips. Mira glanced over her shoulder, her eyes narrowing. "It is none of your business, herbalist. I forge for myself and for the king." Liara stepped closer, her hands still wrapped around a basket of herbs. "And why, for what purpose do you forge a blade in a storm? The wind itself can cut just as sharply." Mira snorted. "You don't know what it means to feel the heat of metal. The blade must have heart, and heart can't be found in a leaf." Alaric, who had been watching the exchange from above, decided that this was an opportunity to intervene. He swooped down, landing with a thud on the anvil's edge. Ah, the wind, the fire, and the herbs, what a tempestuous trio. Why so tense? Mira rolled her eyes, but Liara smiled at the raven's boldness. "We're just different, I guess. The storm's about to come. It'll make our heads spin." Alaric spread his wings, and let the wind sing through his feathers. "When the storm comes, we shall not simply run or wait. I have seen the patterns of the clouds. There is a cave on the western cliff. An old wind tunnel that opens only during a storm. Inside lies a vault with a key that can control the storm's hat. That way, we can save the village." Mira scoffed. "A key to the storm? You think you can control it? The sky will not bend to our wishes." Liara lifted her basket. "Nature's patterns have guided us for centuries. If we can understand them, we can align ourselves with them, not fight them." Alaric nodded. "Then we should take the key. The village will thank us. We can be the heroes, and you will have a chance to test the herbs against a storm, and you will have a sword that could, perhaps, be used to shield the village." Mira's pride flickered, but she was also wary of the storm. "Fine. Let's see if your old wind tunnel is real." She tapped the anvil, and a rhythmic clang rang out, a warning that the storm was indeed upon them. They left the forge, the wind battering their faces. The path to the western cliff was treacherous, slick with rain. Alaric led the way, gliding between rocks, and using his keen eyes to spot footholds that Mira and Liara might miss. Liara clutched her basket tightly, while Mira pulled her leather apron over her shoulders. They approached the wind tunnel, a narrow slit in the rock that opened up like a mouth. The rain fell heavily, and a spray of water spattered them as they entered. Inside, the tunnel was damp and cool, but the walls were slick with frost. The wind's howl echoed, turning the air into a dizzying chorus. "Listen to the wind. It's telling us something," Liara whispered, closing her eyes. "The pressure is different on this side." Mira shivered, but she moved forward, her hammer clattering against her belt. Alaric flew ahead, using his speed to sense any changes in the wind's direction. They moved deeper, until they reached a chamber where a stone vault sat beneath a mosaic of old runes. Alaric perched on the edge of the vault, his beak touching a rune that glowed faintly in the gloom. "This is where the key is hidden," he chirped. "But it's guarded by a riddle." The runes spun, and a voice, ancient and resonant, filled the chamber. "Only those who listen to the wind, forge the heart, and understand the herbs can break the lock." Mira frowned. "A riddle. What's the answer?" Liara opened her eyes, her gaze drifting toward the faint glow. "The wind is a song," she said softly. "It carries secrets. The key is in the wind song." Mira shook her head. "It's a metaphor, Liara. It must be a word, a phrase." Alaric tapped the stone with his beak. "Perhaps it's in our own words," he suggested. "Our actions speak louder than words." They spent hours inside, trying different combinations of their knowledge. The Volt's lock was a complex mechanism that required 3 inputs: a spoken word, a physical symbol, and a herb. They tried storm, wind, silence, and nothing worked. The lock hummed in frustration. Mira began to grow impatient. "I hate this nonsense," she muttered. "We have no time. The storm is coming. The village will drown if we don't get that key." Liara, patient as always, closed her eyes and inhaled. She felt the storm outside and felt the wind inside. "Look at the wind's pattern, Mira. It's not just a force, it's a conversation." Mira, skeptical, looked at the runes. "You think it's a conversation? We are talking to stone." Alaric fluttered between them, a mischievous glint in his eyes. "The stone is listening to us. We must answer its riddles like a song." The storm outside grew louder, wind lashing against the rocks. Alaric, remembering the wind's pattern, began to hum a low tune that matched the rhythm of the wind. Liara nodded in rhythm, adding a low hum from the root of a yarrow. Mira, feeling the rhythm, began to drum her fingers on the stone. The lock began to vibrate, the runes shifting as they resonated with their combined hum. The lock's teeth began to click. Alaric let out a triumphant squawk. "We did it! We did it! We're..." They all stared at the vault as it creaked open, revealing a silver key embedded in a crystal. The key shimmered with the same glow as the runes. Mira reached out, but Liara gently placed a hand on her shoulder. "You did good, Mira," Liara whispered. "You hammered out a rhythm that matched the wind, remember that?" Mira was humbled. She touched the key, feeling a strange warmth that seemed to flow through her hands. Back on the cliff, they emerged into the storm's eye. Alaric, Mira, and Liara looked at each other, each feeling the weight of the key's promise. "Let's go," Alaric said. "The key will guide the storm away from the village." The wind seemed to listen as they approached the village. They found the storm swirling above the thatch roofs, threatening to swallow the houses in its fury. Liara held the key, the silver light pulsing. She whispered words from her Herbalist book, a spell that drew on the wind's nature. Alaric flapped his wings, directing the wind's flow. Mira, standing on the village square, steadied her hands, holding the key. The key glowed brighter, the storm's roar dimmed. The wind bent away, circling the village like a protective veil. The village was safe. Children gasped in awe. The villagers ran to the square, chanting their gratitude. Alaric perched on the fence, his feathers gleaming in the storm's reflection. Mira, her hand resting on the anvil's side, looked at the key with newfound respect. "I didn't know the wind could be taught." Liara smiled. "The wind is always teaching. We just need to listen." They walked back to the village together, the storm no longer a threat but a companion. In the days that followed, they worked side by side. Alaric taught Mira how to listen to the wind's subtle patterns. Liara taught Mira how to use herbs to heal the after effects of the storm, and Mira taught Alaric the rim of forging blades that could protect the village. The villagers began to respect each other's craft and talents. The 3 friends often sat on the edge of the village square, watching the clouds roll and the wind whisper. The bond between them grew, as strong as the iron forged in Mira's anvil, as steady as the wind, and as vibrant as the herbs Liara carried. The Iron Range's ledger would later speak of 3 friends who had tamed the storm, not by battling it, but by listening, learning, and working together. The tale would inspire generations who would understand that a storm could not be conquered alone. It needed the harmony of different voices, the patience of a healer, and the strength of a smith. And every time a wind gust would blow over the valley, the people would remember the Dave and the Raven, the blacksmith, and the herbalist stood together, their hearts beating in tune with the world around them, and they would feel the wind as a friendly guide, not a foe.